Hi, I'm Jim, and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop. If you watched the previous video, you found out that the new, grab one here, the new sprocket and shafts they are selling for the chain case are junk. You cannot use them. They didn't machine them properly. The couple of bosses I got at the shop, no, one's a boss, one's an employee, but I should say a couple of the guys I have at the shop are just total brainiacs. They can program up anything to remanufacture or manufacture something that I need. And Tim programmed up the CNC milling machine and remilled the sprocket on Tracy's chain case. I'm getting ready to ship that out. Well, now another issue we're having is from China, of course, is the thrust washers. I ordered a bunch of them because I thought they were good. And I got, this is an original. This is an original one. See how short these are and they're flat? Do you notice anything different between these two? Outside of the fact that this fits on the axle the way it's supposed to. This fits the axle and it actually spins. This one won't even go on the axle. The holes are too small. And these points are too long. I mean, if you sent one of these to China and said, make me a zillion of them and send them over here, wouldn't you think that the inspector over there could look at these and see there's something wrong? The problem is they just don't care because we buy this crap anyway. So, you can't buy these anymore, anywhere. So this is one of these, and what do you notice about this one? The points are gone, and it fits on the axle, and it spins, and it fits in the hexagon tube. Wow. So what am I doing to fix these junk parts and make them work like the original? One of these I've already, okay, that one's in the middle of what's going on. This is the original. I got that mixed up. So I drew up a little blueprint. This is my blueprint. And I told the boss and Ben what I needed. Well, this is the magic box right here. Ben whipped up this for me off my blueprint. Its hole goes all the way through. It's larger in the back than it is on the business end. And then he got married and went on vacation, or honeymoon. So Tim, the other brainiac, programmed this up, and well, actually he did this at home on a hand mill. He didn't use a CNC. And originally I drew it up to be made like this. And this is before, it's got the taper on it, and this is tapered with a small straight section back here. But Tim was thinking if we designed and build it like this, and we press this through, they would get stuck on there, and there's no way to, really no way to get them off. So his idea was to come up with just a short one, and you press it all the way through here, and it would fall through once you pressed it through. Then you could take the part off. My idea of this part was so when this flat area came down up against here, it would flatten them back out. Because when you push this die, that's what this is, through here, it distorts this a little bit and cup shapes it. So you want these flat because they're a thrust washer. So now what do? I gotta flatten that back out. So I went down to the shop on a Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember, and I made this. It's got a small undercut in here. It's hard to see that fits right into, and it stays there. And these are cupped. Oh, this one's flat already. This one I flattened. This one apparently I flattened. I don't have a, I'll show you when I fix these four, what they do and how this works. So let me turn the camera off and I'll get set up over here on the press, and we're going to repair these four so they're usable. This one, we still have to take these points off and make it a little shorter, because when you put it in here, they just touch the end of the bushing that's inside this shaft. You don't want it rubbing on the bushing. You want it rubbing on the face of the hexagon tube. So let's go over here and we're going to fix these four, and it's very fast and simple once you have the die. Okay, let's see what we can do. Oh, first thing I need to do is change my pushing rod here. Now, I got some marks scratched on the face of this. I guess you can see them. That is just on there to use to line this up, because it turns a little. So you want to line this up so these flats here are lined up with the flats on this hole. That looks like the one we want. Now, we want to put a little bit of grease on this thing to help it slide through. I just took my grease gun and put a gob back here, hopefully out of the way. Get me a rag. Now we're going to shove this through here. Now, I don't know if you can tell or not, but this is actually bending. I can get to scale under there. So when we're done, we have to bend that the opposite way and flatten it back out. Now, right now, that's stuck in there pretty good. So he made me this little pusher to shove them all the way through. Wipe the grease off, And I'll show you what happens when you expand this back to the size it needs to be. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Yeah, you might be able to. You can see how it's high around the rim and it bellies in. We got to flatten that out. I'm not going to do all these on camera. It's pretty repetitive. I'll line that up. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but it's starting to bend. And there's a second one that now we can use. And again, you can see how distorted that is compared to this one that's completely flat. They did get that part right, believe it or not. Okay, now I'm going to pause this. I'm going to finish these two I have sitting here. And then we'll set up to flatten them. So I'll be right back. Okay, we got them all expanded the way we want them, but now they came out a little dished from pushing the die through it. Now we're going to push it back and flatten it out. And this is just trial and error here. Got to go a little more. And we check it. Get a lot of spring back. So you got to go a little bit farther than you think you need to go, but if you go too far, then you got to flatten it the other way. This one don't look too bad at all. Let me show you what it looks like. No gap under there. Set them over there so I don't get them mixed up. And we'll try to flatten this one out. Some of these don't really like to fit on this second die I got. There we go. A little more. That looks good. All right, now it's over to the belt sander. Let me get that set up and I'll be right back. Okay, I got 5 of these. I'm just going to do a couple of them because it's kind of noisy. I have to use my shop vac to suck up all the metal shavings. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Maybe I could turn this a little. Okay, I'm back on the bench, and that's the steps and process I have to go through. I have to belt sand these yet. I tip this down a tad. These have to be belt sanded yet. It's kind of noisy. These 4 are done and usable. This is an original. I do have some originals. I bought another box of parts from a snapper dealer that just doesn't deal with much anymore. He says, when I went to my Ace Hardware, they told me, he says, right up the road at Bill's, he was a snapper dealer and he's probably got parts. So I went up there and talked to him, and he said, yeah, I got this box of parts sitting on the floor I've been tripping over, and it was about the size of this, only twice as tall, and it was full. And all I was looking for was sprocket and shaft and some of these. I did find one of these brand new. So I kind of looked through the box and I said, well, there isn't much in here that I really need. What do you take for the whole box just to get it out of your way? He said, well, make me an offer. So one of his employees was helping me on the floor, putting all this stuff back in the box. And I looked at this guy, I said, should I insult him or what? He's all, go ahead, everybody else does. So I said, what about 25 bucks? He says, how about 35? I said, how about 30? Okay, I'll take 30. So I paid him 30 bucks for that whole box of stuff. And I come out with a lot of parts. Most all of them are old stuff. It's all brand new. I come up with one of these. If you've worked on snappers, you know what this is. This is the brain to the safety system. And you even get the pigtail in this one. Usually you just get the modem. And I've got 2 of the old timers that were on the machine before that one. And these are brand new. They're like 50 bucks. These you can't buy. They've switched to them and you have to rewire. I think that's why you get the pigtail and instructions, because you have to wire it differently than these to make it work. Once you have it wired in and it shorts out, you can just buy the modem and plug it in because it's on a plug. The other ones were wired in. But I got a lot of stuff. If you need any parts, let me know, because I've got snowblower parts, all for snapper. I got a lot of walk behind parts and a ton of parts for the riders, rear engine riders. But this is what you have to go through to fix Chinese junk. At least I work with the guys that are smart enough to program these machines to make stuff like this. And again, Tim just made this at home on a hand mill. I tell you, they're wizards. It must run in the family because Ben that machined this up is Ben Reck. And Tim that machined this up is Tim Reck. He's a cousin. And it just must run in the family or something. I don't know. But at least all these are ones I just did. As you can see, they all fit on here and spin. They're plenty loose. And now they're usable. And they fit inside of here. What can I say? If there's a will, there's a way, I guess. And again, this was a lot of work to manufacture this, and I'm not going to make them and sell them. And I don't even know what I'd have to get for a set like this. You're probably looking at $400 or $500 to make up these dies to do what I just did on these parts. You can do whatever you want. If you don't use these these thrust washers in each end of this shaft, this end, you have one in it, it rubs up against the back of the 63-tooth gear. This one, along with the shims, rubs up against the end of the either bearings or bushings. If this thing is slopping back and forth, and you can tell, you grab on the side of your machine, the bumper, and try to push the machine sideways. If it's popping back and forth, put these shims in here, because if you don't, what's going to happen is this is going to slide over, and this chain is going to cut a slot right through your differential cover. I've shown covers with slots cut through them. That big 33-inch monster that's sitting over there that I'm just about done with, that came with a dethatcher on the front and a clamshell bagger on the back. I mean, this thing is huge. That's what happened to him. He got too much side play. It cut a hole through the differential cover, and the chain would catch when you tried to turn to the left. The axle slides, the chain caught on the case and locked the machine up. He took it to a dealer in Traverse City, and the dealer said, well, I could probably fix it, but next time there won't be any parts available to fix it again. So the guy just told him to sell it. I brought it home, and as soon as I stood it up, I seen what was wrong with it. Apparently this dealer never even looked at it. All I would have had to do is put a cover on it and sell it. But I went through it. I completely rebuilt the drivetrain. I took the old fenders off. I put fenders on with bearings because this thing is heavy. I had an awful time standing it up, even after I took all the weight off the front end that came with the clamshell, so the front end was, not bouncing up and down. It's an awesome machine, but I don't know why the dealer would have told him that. Apparently, they just don't like working on them. A lot of dealers up here that are still selling parts, they don't work on them either. And they're such a simple machine to fix, I just can't understand it. So until next time, work safe, have fun, and I'll talk to you soon. So long.